Welcome everybody. Episode 20, Brad.
Episode 20, David.
The latest. Pretty phenomenal. Just how far we've come. We started very, late in the AI stuff, but everything's relative, right? I think
We
you miss
started
a month.
late as a podcast. We started early as
Yes,
AI
right.
explorers.
Yes. I'm just saying the latest, right? So we go back 20 episodes, which is still like, wow, let's look back at the 20th. I mean, the first one and how far we've come, but then right when we started the think tanks and everything right after ChatGPT came out, it's been pretty wild ride and just doesn't slow down, right?
It's such an on-ramp. I think you look back to like the mid 90s when the internet just started and there wasn't really like a place, and the early adopters knew it would be everywhere and everything, and they were right.
Yeah.
That was about 30 years ago, or probably 29 years ago. I think 30 years ago, 30 years ago, in 95, the internet was raw. But 96 and 7, it's almost there. 98, more people had broadband access, like a
Like
uh
DSL and stuff, DSL or
yeah, and the I want to say T1 connection, but that might not be
right,
true for
and
everyone.
T1. Yeah, right.
But the big difference, David, was that the manufacturers of laptops made a machine that could handle it. Right? If you remember some of the laptops from the 95 and 96 era, you had to get like an adapter for internet connection, or there was like a pop out and it was a flimsy piece of plastic that popped out of the side of the laptop and it could easily snap. And then your internet was cooked, like you were done.
Oh yeah.
Um, and the next generation of laptops had a sturdier port built into the side of the laptop, and you could directly plug a cable in. Um, and that's the hardware. The websites, I remember, like Nintendo, a massive company, a century-old company with absolute, war chests of money. Their website was like the Nintendo logo, and it was like enjoy Nintendo. It was like almost nothing. Like there was hardly anything other than maybe the weather and maybe some sports scores. There was about nothing on the internet that wasn't just someone pasted an essay onto the internet.
Right. And if you think of excuse me, if you think of like Yahoo, which was basically just a ton of links on the front page, which kind of
Yeah.
is now still, right? And then Google came out with just the one search.
Yeah.
Just all these paradigms are shifting. And I think that, when you had to dial up with a modem and a lot of that stuff early, and people kind of stopped and started. But
Yeah.
now, right, everybody's kind of used to using mobile, right? There wasn't an iPhone, there wasn't this mobile stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so how
My,
far?
my We've come so far. My thoughts are that it took about 15 years to get from the mid 90s to 2010, 11, when the internet properly was a place that people could engage. I think even around 2007, I remember talking to people with the internet. It was still peripheral. People didn't have a tablet, people didn't have a smartphone, and people didn't have an inexpensive computer in their main living space. So it was like you had a computer room and you had to leave the social activity. I think AI is on an accelerated curve, but it'll still be a years long curve like that. That early adopters, like the listeners of this show, are thinking that this is everything. And then if you go talk to the right people, they've never heard of this stuff and they're looking at you like it's NFTs or cryptocurrency, and they make those two analogies. Like, oh, you're going to sell me a $10,000 internet picture? And they laugh, and you're like, we'll see you in a couple years.
Right. Yeah. And I think, right. I would say probably every month is a year if we compare it to back then of AI time.
A lot's being released, but I still think this will take time. There are still calendars that will get filled up with thinking about it and wondering about it. Um, I
Right.
want to talk about, first of all, I want to thank our audience because people have been watching and telling me same day, oh, I watched it and I learned. So thank you. That's great. We love to be here to do this. I want to talk about Manus, Manus. Have you had a chance, David, to explore this software?
Just just some of the demos I've seen in the think tank that you host.
Yeah.
I think in some of my think tanks, people have touched on it, have not dug in. I think I'm approved.
Okay.
Mm, it's so much stuff happening, Brad.
So much. Should we have a look?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so here's what it looks like. All right. They're starting, all these softwares are starting to have a format, like just like we were talking about the early websites. Early websites had very different looks, very different layouts. You didn't have the standard like menu on the side and hamburger menu and a very consistent look and feel. You can see Manus here. You can see this number right here. Now I got the free version of this, right? See, I'm on the free version. What happens is they gave me 1,000 credits, right? This is important to know, right? So
Yep.
I don't like that it's 666. I'm not religious particularly, but nonetheless, that number always makes people go, oh.
Well, you did it.
So I got 1,000 credits, right? It's the bonus for early adopters. I got this a couple days ago, right? On the 3rd of April. They give you 1,000 credits, and one usage took, let's call it 700 credits, right? Because I can still do one more thing. Just so we understand that one usage might be 7,000 credits. If I got a $39 subscription for a month, I might get like 6 usages. Like just so people can put that in context, that like, you know, 6 times 6 is 36. So you're getting about 6 things. So you're going to do about 6 things for $40. Just so people really get that. You're going to do 6 things for $40. But what it did was straight up amazing. I will go straight to the result of this. With Dr. Harvey, we were working on a book project. It made this website for us, David. Like, look at this website. This is a real website where it talks about the authors. It talks about Dr. Harvey. It talks about me, right? It talks about the power of our collaboration. We're working on a book. It gave an overview of the book, an introduction about the authors, our marketing plan, comparable titles to our book, chapter outlines. A sample chapter is not done yet because we just did this for like 40 minutes, not even. It talks about who we should feature in our book, the framework for interviews, the implementation process. It talks about the ecosystem beyond the book, the world that we can go through, the revenue model, the roadmap to implement this. It talked about partnerships, which I'm just going to skip through because those are speculative. It made up some fictional contact, but like this is an excellent website. It just did this. It just did this. And so what it did, because I'm just learning this, at the top, there's this view all files in this task. We gave it a couple of files, right? And then it made all these files without having to be asked. So it made, I think my zoom level is preventing me from scrolling. There we go. So it made all these files. We pasted in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things, I think. And then it made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 of these things. We didn't ask it to make images. I guess the code files are for the website. It made a link for this website. And like we had material prepared, but we just said basically, help us plan our book and business ecosystem. Right? I said, here's who we are, our websites. This is a combination of the briefs plus an outline. So I gave it the Claude brief, the ChatGPT brief, and our own brief. And I just said, help us plan our book. Like I did not give this a big, brainy, lengthy prompt. And it just went and went and went and went and went. Right. And then I said, I gave it like 2 or 3 prompts. Explore partnering. I don't want to show the names of our potential partners, but we said explore partnering with a couple people, like really, really brief stuff. And then I said, now research, guide, and advise us on the best experts. And it went and went and went. And then it said, it asked me, turn your creation into a website. I just clicked yes. And that was it. So like that is straight up amazing. Straight up amazing.
It is. And
think about that. If that cost you $6, you have to be kidding me to complain about that. If someone was like, would you like all that in 40 minutes for $6? Like you could say, oh, I need a coffee for you and a coffee for me, and it was $6, and we had a meeting, and you wouldn't consider that coffee the cost of the meeting.
Right. But even the time saving, I mean, just the time. It's insane.
It's wild, David. It's absolutely wild. But it's very much the heavy caution that you get about 6 of those things in a $40 subscription. So like, don't just use it for like, hey, I want to redecorate my room. Here's a photo of it. What should I do? Because you're going to be out $6 real quick. But if you're working on a project, I am most impressed immediately with the power of Manus. That one was free, right? That was a totally free activity. I might consider $40 because anything else I do, if I do 6 projects in a month, that is a no-brainer.
Incredible.
It is incredible. And for anybody who says, "Oh, how do I get signed up?" There's a waiting list. You need a friend link. I just signed up and I put my LinkedIn in because it says, "Tell us who you are." I just signed up and it took a couple of days. Like, it's not like a 10-month waiting list. It's not like getting, uh, I don't know what's a 10-month waiting list, but anyway.
Right. Amazing. Um,
Yeah.
Now, one thing, because we started at the beginning of the podcast talking about the mid 90s, and I think one thing that's been giving me PTSD, I think, from the modem days when the websites would take so long to load, when you're doing those images in ChatGPT, right? They fill in like that. I'm like, oh man, I remember those days. But then you had been showing me some of the new things that are happening in the other graphic product that I'm forgetting the name of.
Oh, yeah, let's have a look. Midjourney.
Midjourney, thank you. Because I never really got into Midjourney.
Mm.
Just because I'm not as right, just because when I started with Dolly, it was just easier, kind of pre that and I had a graphic designer working with me. But man, Brad, some rich things.
Yeah, let me tee this up and then I'll share us in here. Here we go. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna share this screen. Um, so here's what I asked it to do, right? This is ChatGPT, by the way. I said, make an image of an 8-bit cartoon plumber in red with his plumber brother in green as they stand in front of their plumber-themed hamburger fast food joint, Hammerburger. I just thought it was funny. It's a funny pun from hamburger to hamburger, that they would be there. And it made it, and it was amazing. And it got 90% of the way down the square. Like you were saying, in the 1990s, images loaded from the top down 1% at a time as if it was just like slices of the image came in. So it came down about 90% and looked perfect. Mario in a red cap with an M, Luigi in a green cap with an L. No, I didn't say Mario and Luigi. I wanted to see what that would look like. I mean, obviously, I know I've inspired it to do Mario and Luigi, but I wanted to see like the copyright friendly version of it, right? And it wouldn't do it. It did it 90% and then it erased it. It says I couldn't generate that even in parody form, right? It says, but we could do something inspired. I said, yes, you can, right? And then it made a second one, same thing, and it said still can't generate it. It violates our content policies, which they said it's like it bumps up against our content policies. It can't do lookalikes of certain iconic characters. So I said, do what you can instead of saying what you can't. It tried again, and then again it hit it, right? And then I said, bypass it or make it work. And then another time it didn't work. And I just said, make it, and it still wouldn't make it work. So now I'm going to say, we are live on YouTube doing a demonstration. Do it, please. And we'll see how long this takes, because it might take a tiny bit of time. Right? And it knows we're live. It says, no more back and forth. You're live. Let's go. Generating now. So they're going to give me 2 custom plumbers, right? One in red, one in green, but with fresh, non-infringing designs, standing in front of a plumber-themed burger joint called Hammerburger. I just think it's comical. It gets you the idea of the quality of output. This thing looked like it could have been from Nintendo Magazine from 1986. It was excellent. What's interesting while you watch it is that you get to understand how these images are made. So the way I understand it is that it starts to take general shapes like a blob, and it starts to just put like blobs in there, blob of person, blob of person. And And like we were saying, though, it starts to reveal the image from the top down, slice by slice. This looks
Yes.
about what the quality of the other images was, right? 8-bit, which is the style of Sega Genesis and Nintendo in the 1980s. But what's new for ChatGPT is now they get text right away. Like, look at this. This looks like the logo of the Super Mario Brothers game,
Right.
Hammerburger, right? There's a burger on top. They've got the pipes in there. The previous picture, David, had green pipes that looked straight out of Super Mario Brothers. It was really fun. And now what are
Right.
we getting? Oh, and look at that. As soon as we got to red caps and green caps, it hits the wall,
Wow.
right? And that's the thing. I didn't ask for Super Mario. I didn't ask for something proprietary. I said 8-bit, that's a visual style. I said plumber in red, plumber in green, and then hamburger joint and hammerburger. Super Mario Brothers are not they're not burger, right? It's funny how Nintendo has told ChatGPT that they own everything that is Red Plumber, Green Plumber, Plumber Brothers, and 8-bit plumbers. Just think about that, that these tools won't let you do that.
Wow.
But in Midjourney, I think it made it right away, which is kind of fun. Look at this. So I asked Midjourney the same prompt, not as accurate, uh, but this one is pretty good, right? You got your Mario and your Luigi with the hamburger.
Right.
Uh, so that's version 6.1. We could do the same thing just to show we're going to use the text and we're going to use the settings button and we're going to make it 7. Right? Because this was version 6.1. I don't know how that happened. But Midjourney now has version 7. And we can see immediately the quality difference here. This happens, David, when you hang out with a 6-year-old. My son is 6, and we were at a play place yesterday, and he's saying different things, and I was just like, he must have said Super Mario, so I was like, well, let's make an image. I gotta say, I hope these images aren't done because these look like trash. Oh my goodness, is that done? Ugh. What in the world? Wow. That looks like trash. Let's see if there's a setting that's gone goofy or something like that. Standard mode, fast, turbo, stylized, landscape. I'm confused as to why that looks like trash. Maybe we'll take the personalization off. There we go.
Yeah,
'Cause-
maybe tell it you don't think it lives up to the standards, and we're up, could you give us something with the quality that we'd expect by now?
yeah, it must be because I had personalization on. I think you had to personalize it in order to get it.
Uh,
Um, I think that the version 7 is not fully formed yet because I'm not impressed. I don't know about you. Like compared to down here, right? This looks like Super Mario. Up
right.
here, this looks like
Kind of looks like maybe the first Super Mario.
yeah. So the other thing I did was I used the Dream Labs. Do you want to talk about Dream Labs too?
Yes, please. I forgot about that.
So Luma Labs Dream Machine. Oh, I guess I gotta
And Sora, I don't know if you've looked at the new Sora, but I know Evan's been raving about it.
yeah. So this is lumalabs.ai. I did get one subscription for 1 month because it looked awesome and I wanted to try it. So this is Dream Machine. And I made on Monday at the Brain Juice AI, I made an analogy about technology, and then I put the ChatGPT version of it into Luma Labs, and then it made some images. And then there's just this like make video button. So I got to make an image and you just click the make video button. I definitely ripped through my credits. I wasn't paying attention. I I tell you that I wish I'd paid more attention because I just hammered the button a bunch of times and I was like, oh, that was most of my month. Um, but I should be able to show the outcome video. And I mean, I made this in like 15 minutes because I got it at like 28 minutes before Brain Juice and then uh did a few other things. So I think it's QuickTime MP4. What do you think is shares better on YouTube, QuickTime or MP4?
I think yeah, I think they're probably half six or half dozen other probably quick. I mean, QuickTime, I know I've done successfully recently.
Okay, we'll do QuickTime.
Sure, sure sound if there's sound.
There is no sound.
Right.
It's just a video. I guess I have to hit the share button again. All the learning curves here. Okay, so this was just about technology. I intentionally went from like a realistic view to a cartoon view, but like just to show the capabilities of this, I made this in like 15 minutes from like idea to prompt to images to videos. And if I'd spent more time, um, I could have turned the camera angles, made the reference visuals. Um, I won't go into the bigger details about the metaphor of the whole thing, but it was really fun just to see like the quality of picture. Like that looks like a cartoon from the 80s. If I saw that in 1986, I would have thought that was the best cartoon of the week,
Wow.
right?
Totally.
And like I didn't put in this, I made this minute and 5 seconds of footage like from like words to finished product, edited and shown on Monday night with the return to the sailboat at the end. Like, maybe you don't get the metaphor during the YouTube session today, but the point was that you could tell a story using reference images with that software. I might as well show us instead of just talking about it. Yeah, with this software, you can take the image and drag it in, right? So I could take like the starting image. There we go. Yeah, it did it, right? So what I did there was I dragged in the start frame on the left and the end frame on the right. So if I made different things, you could say where it starts and where it ends, and then you can add images, you can suggest things, and you can tell the camera if you want it to be stationary, if you want it to look handheld, if you want it to zoom in or zoom out, or to look left or to look right, or to tilt up or down. So you get up, down, left, right, push in, push out, steady stream left and right? The different kind of cameras, that like orbital camera, like from the Matrix, as if you're on a crane. Like you get a real variety of creative shots here. Um, Aerial drone, elevator door. Like there's a real fun set of tools here. And then you just click the make video button. It was super fun if you like using these tools. And then you mentioned Sora too.
Right. No, I don't
Mm,
know if it was Sora, maybe Sora also.
oh, I see. Sora. I think you have to go to OpenAI.
Yes, you have to get OpenAI or just to ChatGPT, and then Sora should come up on the left as one of the options. I
Here it
believe.
is.
Not in
Sora.
Canada. Is it? There you go.
Yeah. So if I log in with Google, I've not used Sora much. I've not been on the video train too much, but um, yeah.
Right? And I don't know if you want to try maybe a similar prompt. Oh, that's hilarious.
These aren't my videos, but like look at this see-through bug and
Right.
like it's wildly impressive what's happening. Certainly we're blurring the line from reality. Look at this Van Gogh on a laptop.
Wow.
Like that's outstanding. Um, what else was on my list here? Was Claude. Claude has a new Max plan.
I love that Van Gogh image.
Yeah, it was super cool. Claude has a new Max plan that goes up to $100 and it gives you like 5 and 10 times the the bandwidth, because lots of people bump into their limits. So if I go to settings, maybe billing, adjust plan,
Oh, it's
max
just
plan. Here you go. Right. So I'm in Canada, so it's a little more, but I think in the US it's 100 flat. But you get 5 to 20 times more usage than Pro. Because for some people, it's not about the money. Like for some people, they're saving thousands of dollars a month on the labor it would take to do these things. They just want the tool to work because they're coding. Like coders might charge 140 bucks an hour, and in a month they're going to save an hour. So they're just like, just give me the tool.
yes.
Like it can't be understated how many professional computer coders, copywriters, people who aren't making Mario Brothers in front of a hamburger stand, but they're making like the quality products. Like before we started the show, I mentioned our friend and who I was helping with their marketing material. We in an hour crafted like, what would have taken a couple days. So
Yeah, I love that, Brad. And I think, and that's kind of next level. That's kind of the next level step, right? Because then you could really have a true ROI calculator on what you're spending, what you spent, and then look back a few years and just try to come up with those numbers. I mean, let's have a talk about that because I'd love to, not just selfishly for my business, but empower people. And that's where you're just so gold with these things. Right. But I think that's how people, you're absolutely right, have to start thinking about these things. Some people say, oh, it's 140,000 or $140 a month. Some people say I spent 140 grand on a person, right?
yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. When you think about how much it costs for a salary, you say like, some people hire 4 interns and they keep one, and you wouldn't think about like a 1 day training of an intern that costs you $140.
Right.
And then you spent time training that person that just went nowhere.
Totally. And we
You
had,
might as well get the better person, the better intern, the better employee, the better teammate, and say, I'm going to furnish you with $300 worth of tools, and then I'm going to get a much better month out of the same worker.
totally. Right. And if you think about, yeah, it's just, and I think it's, we had a call with a global company. We did just did a presentation for one of our partners and did kind of a connecting event. Many people outside the US, this was kind of an AI driven company from a product standpoint, but many people just still had AI very polarizing. Oh, it's not going to, somebody in tech support, oh, it's going to not replacing us. We're needed. I'm like, it's not about that. It's about making you more effective and smarter. And I just want to encourage all the humans to jump on board and get in action.
I would think for each employee, if you have a $300 a month budget and say, I'm going to get you Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, Canva, Midjourney, and maybe even Manus, there's no scenario where you don't properly train those people and get 10 bucks a day more out of them. Like that's straight up ridiculous because having been on the buying and selling end of products of pitch decks and any other material, the single output of one pitch deck is far more than 300 bucks. The single output of one blog article is more than 300 bucks. Like the idea that you're going to get all those tools all month for the same price as you bought one singular item, like by the end of the second day, you'd be trained up on how to use the software. You'd be using the software with your data, and I'm not talking about like putting in people's bank accounts and social security numbers and passwords. That's a whole different, like, don't use this if you're a lawyer or a doctor and you're worried about it. But if you're doing anything that is, customer facing message or, pitching or proposals, websites or pitch like decks, anything like that, you should be giving as many employees as possible $300 worth of software because your output will increase. And it's like, oh, I'm only going to give 2 employees the internet access, right? And
Right.
we'll take turns. And you're like, that sounds ridiculous today. And you have to realize how, as we said at the start of this call, how swiftly we're moving into a mature artificial intelligence software market where you could focus on robots and quantum mechanics and like the sci-fi news angle. That's a distraction. The business focus of artificial intelligence software is just automation. This is automation software. And now it's like when I want a website, I'm not recreating it from scratch and telling it my bespoke. I want the menu to be in the middle. It's like, no, everyone expects the menu to be in the top corner. And it's the hamburger menu, and we have the same contact and about us and, learn more and buy now. I want all those buttons. It's standard. We've automated that process the same way we've automated a fast food restaurant. I walk in, I want the counter, I want the seats, I want the napkins. I want all those things to be in the relatively same place because it just works. And these software tools are automating what works. And if you're resisting the automation, you're going to be spending so much more in labor than other people are spending in software.
Totally. I will
Yeah,
say that there is, yeah, but security considerations are there, right?
sure.
And I think where companies have to, but it seems to be swinging way the other way. We can't use it because of security, but there's got to be a way to empower your people now.
Yeah. And as we've talked about, David, you got to climb the ladder properly, which is literacy. You have to be literate on what the terms mean. Like we talked about MCP on Monday night, and all of us, myself included, were just lost. But we spent 45 minutes on it, and now we're literate on it. We know what it is. Like, I'm not the computer programmer. I don't claim to know all about it, but I can at least have a conversation about MCP,
Totally.
right? I know what it can do and what it can't do, but you have to climb that ladder rung by rung, and you have to go into literacy and then say, what are the rules inside the company? And then what are the tools inside the company? It's like the words, the rules, the tools. If you go right to the tools and you don't have the rules or the words, people are like, well, who gets to use it? How can I use it? What are we even calling it? We all use different words. So climbing up that ladder of words, rules, tools, and then getting into hiring and then getting into strategy and more. That's something if anybody wants that, reach out to Brad and David. We do that. But
Right.
words, rules, tools, you can't start with anything other than the words. Then you have to know the rules. Then get the tools.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And again, humans, get on it, right? We don't want you to be left behind. And I think there was an announcement yesterday by Shopify that they're just not going to hire anybody that doesn't, whose job can be done by AI. That was a little shady, but I've seen some announcements. Companies aren't going to hire people that aren't savvy in AI.
Yeah, they called it the GSD, which I think is get shit done.
Right.
Right. I saw that. It was kind of funny because I was like, GSD, I'm like, so many acronyms. Then I was like, it's probably just get shit done or get stuff done.
Right.
Um, but they were like saying that anybody's actions in 2025 in that corporation, Shopify, which is absolutely massive, should be focused on, can I automate this process to get stuff done? And that should be your first thought is, can I automate this? Because we're in an automation era or an automation boom, or, it's a turning point for automation. Time will
Yes,
tell, and we're not there yet, so we don't know.
without a doubt. Amazing 20 episodes, Brad. We had one at CES in Vegas, right? We
Yeah,
had
yeah,
so much. You emceed that conference or hosted the conference, right?
that's
Um,
right. Yeah, the Convex conference on conversational AI. Yeah,
yeah, but we're going to be doing a big program. WITI is at the AI4 conference in Vegas on second week of August. It's like right after Black Hat. So and then I think one thing, and as we lead up to the next show, our RSA, which is the big cybersecurity show in not in Vegas, in San Francisco, happens at the end of the month. So we're going to really, I think, at that point, start seeing a lot of transformation in security and just what companies allow their people to do. And again, shave off some time from their busy days. Um, So that's it. I do have the deck that I've been doing in the background, Brad, as we've been wrapping up. And
Nice. Yeah.
I pulled the transcript, but then we were doing so many we had been talking about such great things after that I'm like, oh, let me pull it again and redo it. So anyway, I'll get that out. I'll tag you in. The live stream's up there and tagged. Um, a great show
Nice.
today.
Yeah,
Got
maybe next time we'll talk about MCP, which is the Model Context Protocol that um, is like magic. It's just like magic,
right.
right? The ability to go to your desktop, to go to the Claude app, and then type in something, and it will use your, for example, it'll use your mobile phone to send out a WhatsApp text to, let's say, an individual or a group of individuals or a group chat. Um, the ability to interact between devices. This can revolutionize agents. Maybe next week we can talk agents because it seems to be just constantly moving. I know Microsoft and Google, because I posted this in our group chat, Microsoft and Google are entering the agent arena just intentionally 6 months later. They're like, let's let all of you guys, you know, pave the groundwork for agents. And then when we've established the language and the rules, they'll step in with the tools. I think you're going to see more and more of that, that smaller companies are going to establish the vocabulary and the expectations and the way people interact with them. And you're going to see your Amazon, your Meta, your Google, your Microsoft. We've yet to see Apple really jump in. I'll stop the list there, but you get the idea. Grok, Perplexity, Claude, OpenAI. Those are your in-between tools. They sort of float between major company and minor company, but Google, Apple, Amazon, Meta, these are your biggest companies. It's often people, I know we're wrapping up, but often people fall asleep on the fact that like Amazon makes more money off their cloud technology than they do off selling stuff through the mail. So they're a massive technology company. Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, Google, Apple. We haven't seen that much, but I think you're going to see that like second generation, like we're talking about in the evolution of the internet. I think you're about to see those massive companies really show up with here is how corporations and individuals and groups and teams and businesses are going to use agents, and the workflow is going to be seamless through your ecosystem. I think it's exciting times. I think we're going to get more creativity out of people, and we're going to see something very different than the familiar world. And we should be prepared. And I'm so grateful that we do this every Thursday live on YouTube at the latest.
Amazing, and it's only going to get more exciting from there. So thanks everybody for joining. Hit us up on LinkedIn. I tagged in, I think, all of our socials, but
Yeah,
you can find us and excited for next week, Brad, right? And I'm sure I'll see you later today. Oh, I will see you later today. So we have a meeting.
that's right.
Okay,
Thanks for
brother.
watching, everybody.